After the 1988 carbon dating of the Shroud of Turin, the British Museum refused to release the raw data from that carbon dating until it was forced to do so under Freedom of Information Act request. If that surprises you, you're not alone. Stick around, I'll be right back. Gracious gang, it's Mike Creavey from the Gracious Guest Show here with you today. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Share this video far and wide. If you haven't subscribed before, make sure you do that now. And check out some of my other content. I've got a lot of great stuff. And we're returning now today to a recurring theme, a recurring topic that we like to visit in various ways from different angles, dealing with the Shroud of Turin and the questions over its authenticity. And with me today, I'm really delighted to be joined internationally by Tristan Casabianca and Emanuela Marinelli, both very well-known figures in the study of the Shroud of Turin sindonology, which is what that is referred to, if you didn't know that already. Emanuela Marinelli, and I was speaking to her, she's in Rome. She is a retired teacher of natural science living in Rome. She has degrees in natural and geological sciences and the qualifications to teach mathematics, natural sciences, chemistry, and geography. She's been interested in the Shroud and has written many, many books on the topic since the late 70s, even before the STURP team got unique access to the Shroud in 1978. Tristan Casabianca is a French independent researcher who graduated in modern history, public law, and law and economics. He works for French Public Regional Administration in Corsica, where he was born. Since 2013, he has published academic articles on the Shroud of Turin, including the Haythrop journal New Blackfriars Sindon. In 2019, he co-authored another peer-reviewed article in Archaeometry, which we discuss at length in this interview, showing that the results of the 1988 radiocarbon dating were unreliable. So without further ado, I want to jump right into this fascinating conversation with Emanuela Marinelli and Tristan Casabianca. I know you're going to love it. Check it out. All right, we're officially rolling here. So Emanuela and Tristan, thank you so very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, this is a first for my show. It's not the first time I've had two guests on at the same time, but it is the first time that they've both been in a different country from me and from each other. So we'll get into that a little. I just want to begin with asking you, Emanuela, to just share a little bit about your own background and sort of what brought you to the Shroud, to studies of the Shroud.
Yes. My interest in the Shroud started a long time ago, in 1977. It was not the first time I had the news about the Shroud, because the first time I heard something about the Shroud was when 2 years before, in 1975, it was a jubilee, a holy year. And in Rome, I live in Rome, it was common to see in the shops, mainly near St. Peter, near the Vatican, also strange things for pilgrims, but a picture of the face of the Shroud attracted my interest because it was beautiful, a beautiful face of Jesus, of course. The first thinking about the face of the Shroud in negative it's Jesus. And for the similarity with the most part of the image of Jesus that we have. So I asked to the nun of the shop in which was in display the picture, who was the artist who painted that beautiful image. And the nun told me, no, it's not painting. It's the Holy Shroud, is the original cloth in which Jesus was put in the tomb. Of course, I didn't believe anything of what the nun said, because it was, for me, of course, the first time, it seemed too beautiful to be real, to have the original Shroud of Jesus. And right. You have to mind that I have the two scientific degrees in natural science and in geology. So the first attitude of somebody coming from the scientific field is to doubt, is normal to say, sure, but maybe it's not possible. But what happened in 1977? Max Frey Sulzer, the botanist, the director of the the laboratory of research of the police in Swiss, in Zurich, he discovered on the shroud 58 different pollen grains coming from plants, for the most part 38 from Jerusalem, from the middle, from the east, common in Jerusalem. One of them, the Zygophyllum dumosum, in existence only in a part of Israel, Jordan, and Sinai. So it was a strong proof of the origin of the shroud from the Middle East. So my attitude changed, because I was attracted, and the curiosity, the scientific curiosity, was how it is possible that pollen grains from that part of the world are on the shroud that now is preserved in Italy. So I started to study the shroud, and I studied a lot, because I had a course of 4 years in Rome. It was in existence a course by Monsignor Giulio Ricci, a famous shroud scholar. And after, I started to collect books. Now I have in my home more than 1,000 books on the shroud. I wrote, yes, I wrote 22 books on the shroud. Is another Guinness, because I think it is not common to write 22 books, and so it all is changed in my life, of course.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. And I'm going to talk to you more about those books, and one of them in particular a little bit later on. But Tristan, how about you?
Yeah, I wrote, I mean, many less books than Emanuela. One, just one on the shroud. And I mean, the first time for me that I heard the Shroud of Turin, it was, I was 16 or 17. And for me, it was a completely different environment than Emanuela, because I was raised in Corsica, but in an atheist family. And with an atheist education, so something very common nowadays in France, of course. And that was the first time that I heard about the Shroud of Turin. It was there was a book, a very low quality book about the shroud, and the main thesis of this book was: is the shroud coming? Is the shroud the image of a Knight Templar? The great master Jacques de Molay.
Okay.
Exactly. So this hypothesis was terrible. The book was, I mean, a total disaster, and I let this go. I started to study modern history in Paris, in Sorbonne University, and then I was somehow attracted towards esotericism, maybe too much, and that's at the end of my courses in history that I started rethinking about the Shroud of Turin, and then I read some books, and there was at the time also the development of the internet, with the access to many articles, including, of course, thanks to the website of Barry Schwartz, who passed away some days ago. Okay, I started progressively to read, and I wrote my first article. I published my first article about the Turin Shroud in a peer-reviewed journal. It was in 2013. It was focused on historiography, and then, of course, I never stopped, and nowadays, I mean, it is quite, of course, one of my main interests.
Quite a passion, yes, indeed.
Yeah, it is a passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to I'll come back kind of near the end to just sort of finish by asking you both maybe what is the the most compelling evidence for you personally, or the thing that really you tend to come back to over and over again as something that really gives you that sense of its authenticity. But I do want to get into a little bit more of this question of the Freedom of Information Act request and the raw data. And just to sort of set the stage here, I've discussed this before, the carbon dating. I've gone into detail on that before with Joe Marino and some others, Michael Kowalski from the British Shroud of Turin Society. So some of my viewers and listeners have heard about that, or they may have heard about it before. But just in general, I want to start, go back to you, Emanuela, here. How, with your interest in the Shroud those years, what happened in the wake for you of that announcement, that 1988 and 89 kind of the carbon dating in the article in Nature magazine, and your own interest as a scientific person, right? Interested in science, at not being able to access that raw data, for example. I'm just curious what your perspective was on that.
When the announcement of carbon dating was done, my interest in the Shroud was 11 years old. So it was new. I was not surprised of the result, because when they choose the corner, the polluted corner, evidently polluted corner, I suspected that the result could be wrong. Is to explain to the people, when I have a lecture, they ask me how it is possible that carbon dating is wrong. I answer, it's not wrong, the method. The problem is the same if I go to have the blood analysis after the breakfast. So my glucose, of course, is wrong. So it's not wrong the method, it's wrong the sample. And so I was not surprised. But what was requested, especially to me, was to write a book after the carbon dating, because the people was surprised, the most part of people was surprised. So the famous writer, Italian writer Vittorio Messori, asked to Orazio Petrosillo, a pressman, a journalist, a Vatican journalist of Il Messaggero, the main newspaper of Rome, to write a book with me, because I wrote with Petrosillo an article explaining the limits of the method for a wrong sample. So I had the role of writing this book with Petrosillo. It was published by Rizzoli. It was my first book. In 1990, it was published in a famous editor, Italian editor like Rizzoli. So it was a big success. It was translated in 5 languages. It was, in some manner, it reopened the case of the Shroud, because after the carbon dating, it was a moment of also silence, but not from the sindonologist, because the sindonologist immediately organized an important conference, one in Paris, one in Bologna, to discuss. And I remember, because I participated in both the Congress, and in Paris, it was a statistic expert, professor, Philippe Boursier de Carbone. It was funny, because for the carbon dating, the professor Carbone was, the professor Boursier de Carbone was the right person to study.
Yes, indeed.
He made a list of problems. Interesting. If you don't have this list, I have to send you the list of the problems of carbon dating. And of course, one of the problems was that this particular test was taken alone from the multidisciplinary project. It was a very strange problem. But he asked for the original raw data. so started immediately this request, because basing on the published results on Nature, it was clear that something was not good, but to have more food for this contesting to this refusing of the result, it was necessary to have the raw data. But the answer they asked, many especially statisticians started to ask the raw data, but the answer was not, for years and years and years. It happened because Tristan was too young to make the request.
We needed to wait.
Because we had to wait for Tristan to grow, because without Tristan, we had all the sindonologists had no success. The answer was no. We chose the kind request. Please, can you give me the raw data? Not. The request of Tristan was a bit different, and Tristan can explain the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very kind of you, I mean, Emanuela. But first, I would say that we had some raw data very soon after the radiocarbon dating, and you can see that in some papers, for example, from Remy van Elst, who analyzed the raw data from Arizona. So they made a request to Arizona, and Arizona gave them some raw data, because we have to distinguish between different levels of raw data. What we call raw data, there is some level of raw data, especially due to the radiocarbon dating, which is a very complex process. So they had already some data, some internal reports that were sent from Arizona to the British Museum with the summarized data of Arizona, but they made a strange choice. I think they made a choice not to go further, and not to really ask to every laboratory to press on each laboratory to obtain those raw data. And that was some mistake that was made there. And also, I would say, for me, it was also a kind of mistake, because they choose to remain in a closed circle, and they didn't try to be published in a peer-reviewed journal.
Okay.
So they published in some conference, but in those conference, after maybe one, or where there was a Michael Tite or something, there was only what we call now shroudies or sindonologists. And for 3 decades, there was no great progress, and we had to wait since the years 2000s, to see for the first time a kind of trend in the academic circle, pushing to contest the heterogeneity of the radiocarbon dating results, especially due to Ray Rogers in 2005, when he published in Thermochimica Acta a very important article.
Yes.
So, and from my concern, I was really so I had already published in 2013 and 2017 two peer-reviewed articles, and on historiography and philosophy of the Shroud of Turin, but I was really not satisfied. I wanted to quit this realm of this scientific topic to do more to focus myself on dogmatic, on theology, etc. Because at that time I just started to convert myself to Catholicism. And in 2007, I was I wanted to write my last article on the Turin Shroud and to present it in a conference that was in the state of Washington near Seattle. And the title of the paper was, "Do we really need new evidence about the Turin Shroud?" And to summarize, my answer was maybe not. And it was quite a provocative paper. And I started thinking, why is this controversy not over after about the radiocarbon dating results?
Yeah.
Why is it not over after 3 decades? And immediately the interrogation was, what was never done to put an end to this controversy? And due to my background, I studied also public law. I said to myself, well, I mean, we could introduce a Freedom of Information Act to the different laboratories and to the British Museum, which centralized the results. And to my great surprise, I received, when I was in the state of Washington, just before giving my paper, the first reply from the British Museum. We were in July 2017. And yeah, and it was quite a shock, because I think genuinely that they made a blunder. They should never. The answer was quite frank. I received more than 200 pages with everything, with some kind of letters from anonymous people to the British Museum, but also with the of course, letters from the laboratory to the British Museum, with internal letters, with letters from the Archbishop of Turin, etc. So you can see that it was really a shock for me to receive that. And after that, I realized that there was some papers that were lacking in all the documents that were sent to me by the British Museum. And I decided to go further and to ask the British Museum all the remaining results. And I went to London, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, because then they realized that I think I can say that then when they realized that they made some kind of mistake by releasing this documentation too easily.
Well,
and,
I was going to ask you about that, because I have the archaeometry article here, and we'll link this below for people to check out. In that data and methodology section, it looks here like you said that they sent you files, and the quote was "not dated or arranged in any order."
Yeah.
And it was 211 pages, and then you went and you scanned more than 500 new pages. Is that correct?
Yeah, in one day.
That's a lot of scanning.
Exactly. In one day in the British Museum, in the archives of the British Museum, they were all looking at me, wondering what I was doing. And it was in several boxes, in total disorder.
Wow.
And yes, and it was in 6 boxes of archives, and I had to scan everything that was missing in the first the first reply they made to me.
Well, and before we get into a little bit of what was discovered, or what are some of the things that have come to light now that that raw data is being analyzed. Let me just jump back to Emanuela here. As you said that there were people who asked, right, and that you had asked over the years, in a very kind of polite way, as you put it, to ask for that data. I'm just so curious, and I don't know that I've ever really heard this before, but what was the justification, or was there any justification that people would get back from the British Museum specifically as to why they were not willing to release that? Was there any reasoning given?
For the fact that they didn't give before
Correct,
the
yeah.
data. Yes, but because I think it's simple. Nobody asked in the right manner and insisting in that way. The problem of sindonology, the basic problem of sindonology, is that we are all the volunteers. We are not paid for doing our job of research. So all is in the good willness of who would like to do something, and the Shroud organizations sometimes are not in contact each other, or nobody had the idea that Tristan had. It is simple, but sometimes it happens. But it is interesting what happened after, because after Tristan called me and simply told me I was in London and I had to scan a lot of paper. I have the raw data. I was shocked for the news, of course. I thought that also in Corsica there is a good wine, because it's not possible. Other explication. He said, Tristan, are you joking? Are you joking with me? He said, no, it's true. And now you have to look for a professor of statistics, a university professor. He asked me specifically, we need a professor, a university professor of statistics to elaborate, to arrive to realize a publication on the new raw data from the professionally statistic point of view.
Yes.
And Tristan can testify is here that I said I don't know any professor of statistics in university. I don't know. He said, okay, we try to, you look, and we continue to pray. He told me, we pray, and pluffed. After not more than 10 days, I went in Catania to give a lecture. And when I was giving, before starting the lecture, the organizer of the lecture asked me, there is something new in the Shroud field. I cannot reveal everything, but I said, I need, maybe we have something, but I need a professor, a university professor of statistics. And the man who was the teacher in the secondary school of Professor Torrisi, who is the statistician, he said, we have here in that room Professor Benedetto Torrisi. He was one of the best students of my Lyceum. He was the director of the Lyceum, and he is professor of statistics in the University of Catania. If you need him, I ask him, no problem.
Wow.
He called him with the phone, with a message, he sent a message, and we saw in the room, because he was attending my lecture, I saw him watching the telephone. If he make yes with the head, at the end of the lecture, he said, what you need, I am in your, we have to speak about a project. And Benedetto Torrisi and his precious helper, Giuseppe Pernagallo, data analyst, met Tristan in Rome. I was not present in that first meeting because I had another problem, but started, and Tristan was not surprised for the arrival of the professor. He said, okay, so normal. He prays, no, and God send the solution. The faith is faith, because the faith of somebody converted is more strong than our old faith usually, I am so old,
Yeah.
so much
That's the I
more
think
old.
I think the English adage for that is that there is no zealot like the convert. There's right. There's no, the zeal of
So,
someone who has found it. Yes. Yeah.
yes, so our faith is something so hold together we are hold. You have to mind that I had my first communion before the Vatican
Two.
The
Council.
council. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay, in 1960. So
Mm-hmm.
Tristan was not in existence, and you too, I
no.
think.
Me too.
Okay. So my faith is something, it's normal, but to have the Professor Torrisi after a few days, you have to accept that there is a project under us. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, no other explication.
Yeah,
And so
it
the
was really.
project started. And I was
Yeah.
not faithful that archaeometry could publish this criticism. And I say that you remember it. I say, but archaeometry is a magazine, a scientific magazine of
Mm-hmm.
the Oxford University. We are going in the mouth of the lion. Okay, so they will say not, but Professor Torrisi said
Yeah.
the
I think, yeah,
mathematics
yeah. I was
is
really, yeah,
the
I was
numbers
really,
are numbers, the calculation are calculation,
yeah,
no possibility to say not. And they honestly accepted the paper.
yeah, yeah. But I was really overconfident when I proposed, I mean, to archaeometry because
Confidence.
because it was I knew that they published over the last couple of years already 2 papers on the Turin Shroud, one by Marcia Boy on the pollen, on the reinterpretation of the pollens by photographs, etc., with a conclusion that was pretty in favor of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And another which was more
Skeptical or
skeptical.
just
No,
yeah.
it was not really skeptical. It was confused. I
Okay.
don't know.
I see.
I don't know why it was published in reality. So
Okay.
I can't tell. I mean the benefit of this article, but there was a window that was open in archaeometry. So I was really confident that when we submitted to archaeometry, they will have a close look at our paper. And when you have a close look at this paper, at this submission, you are, of course, with an open mind, you have to accept it. Because, I mean, data is data. But it's not that easy to publish in a peer-reviewed journal.
Right.
And we submitted before that this article to two reviews, and it was rejected without a serious peer review. It was rejected almost immediately, and
Wow.
it's not surprising. It's not surprising because it's in the academic realm. The Shroud of Turin is a kind of a career breaker.
Yeah.
And you can see
too controversial or
it's
whatever
too controversial,
they want to say. Yeah.
of course. And we can see this every day when you try to contact some university professor, when you try to contact some PhD, and the first thing they say to you, yes, okay, what a fantastic project. And some days, some weeks later, they say, oh, I talked to my
my
professor,
department chair.
my department chair, and unfortunately, I won't be able to do it. So it's the real life of the academic realm. I mean, it's made by human beings with with passions, with interest, and yes, it's not pure science, unfortunately.
I have to add the reason to clap our hands to archaeometry, because archaeometry not only published the article, but send us a special diploma, a special paper in which is written that our article, congratulations to us, because the paper was one of the most downloaded in that period.
Wow.
And in a mail, Archaeometry wrote, thank you for the visibility you gave to Archaeometry. So the opposite of what expected. So they were very honest, and I have that all four small paper with a congratulations to you for the article. It was really a big satisfaction for us, because it is not easy to publish on the Shroud in the academic field, because there is the Shroud is confused with something stupid like the Yeti, the something not existing really, no? The flat earthers. So who believes in the Shroud, and the list of the relics, the opposite, the negationists, the people against the Shroud authenticity, used to have a long list of fake relics, multiple relics, the 12 heads of some John the Baptist or something like this.
Sure.
Yes, to make all in a pot in which is mixed. And the Shroud is damaged for the existence, of course, also.
Sure.
There are in existence relic, not only fake relic, but not also fake, made in good faith,
Sure.
or contact. So
by contact.
there is, yes, by contact. By contact.
For example.
So there is not the intention, sometimes it was not intention of confuse people, but in Rome we have a column of the scourging of Jesus. In Jerusalem there is another column of the scourging of Jesus. Maybe the second column was put in contact with the original column, and it was brought to Rome, and it became the same relic. So the attack against the Shroud is to damage something in front of which somebody is in trouble, as fair, because a real Shroud oblige people to change life. There is no question, because if the Shroud is authentic, we have in front something real of what happened. It's not a tale, it's not a story, but is the real existence of Jesus, and also the real resurrection for us. The dead, passion, dead, resurrection, all for us. So when somebody asks me which is the main reason for your believing in Shroud authenticity, I answer the main reason are the big books against the Shroud. This is the main reason, really, because if the Shroud was a stupid fake relic, nobody lose 1 minute. Of course, it was painted, it was so evident it's a fake.
Yeah, but why take so much time to try to undermine it?
The fact that to try to destroy the credibility of the Shroud, it is necessary to write books of 400, 500 pages, and I have the sad role of read the books opposite, and to make to read more than one time, to read also, because if in English, so I have to read, reread, to take notice. And for example, one of the books I had to criticize, I wrote, the book was more than 400 pages. I had to write a criticism of more than 30 pages, of course. And now I am reading a new book against the Shroud. Is appeared in Italy in the last days. So I am reading the book against the Shroud. I think I have the most expert. Somebody says you are the most expert of the Shroud. No, there are many experts of the Shroud, but maybe I am the more expert of the oppositor to the Shroud, because I read their books and I write.
Good, yeah.
Yes, and I have to write. Somebody asked me why you wrote a book after the carbon dating. because I was a witness of many facts. And if I remained silent, my conscience was not calm, because I have to be the witness of what happened. I was so happy, so lucky to start my interest in the Shroud when I was only 26-year-old. Now I am 73, so a life of studying and spreading the knowledge about the Shroud. But I was present in many facts, or I know many of the facts. So I had to write this book, and this book revealed also something. Not to be calm about the Shroud, because, for example, the fact that the Oxford University received 1 billion of liras for realize a chair of archaeology, and this new chair was given to Professor Tait, who was the coordinator. Yes, he had to be neutral, but after Oxford University give him the chair. So something, who gave the money? Rich friends, a lot of money. So those facts, I describe those facts in the book, and the book is out of print, but I wrote also a paper for a conference in Valencia. And this paper, the scenario of the carbon dating, is still available on my academia.edu, to describe those facts. But the oppositors said, you are insisting on the human problems because you have no arguments against the scientific problem. So in passing the years, I started more in the interest about the fact of why the carbon dating was not well done, but not for the behavior. The behavior of the laboratories, unfortunately, was not good. It is without question. But the scientific problems are far worse. So it is important to know one and the other, but mainly together. It is important, the scientific problems. And our article was a millstone, a stone important in the history of the scientific research on the Shroud.
Well, let me ask, I might ask Tristan this, just in terms of your own, I mean, like I said, we'll have these various links below, people can go deeper, but if you were to attempt to just sort of summarize what one of the biggest sort of takeaways or discoveries once the raw data started being analyzed since 2017, what do you think has been one or two of the largest sort of discoveries or confirmations that has led to that might lean towards authenticity?
I think for over the last decade, one of the most important article that was published was published in a Nature Group journal, which is called this journal is called Scientific Reports, and it was and this article was authored by Gianni Barcaccia, and it was about pollens and DNA, and it really impressed me because there was in this article, at the end of the article, an interrogation and a focus on the origin of human DNAs found in vacuum filters of the Turin Shroud in the 70s and in 1988. And the shock, really, the result were really shocking because 30% of those human DNAs come from the sub-Indian continent.
Wow.
And so it was quite unexpected. And of course, we know nobody would touch the Turin Shroud from the Middle Ages to nowadays, who was from India. So how can we arrive at this result? And I think that the only option is to say that the linen the linen comes from this sub-Indian continent, and it traveled to Arabia and then was sold in Jerusalem, and it was a common practice in the first AD. Yes, I think that it was, for me, yes, one of the most important articles that was published over the last decade.
Yeah, well, we know, I mean, from tradition tradition has it that St. Thomas the Apostle and others, it's not that India was completely out of reach.
And also the etymology of the shroud.
It is interesting that in the Mishnah, the important Hebrew book, is written that in the afternoon of the sacred day of Yom Kippur, the holy priest had to dress himself in pure linen coming from India.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes, so in the temple of Jerusalem, for sure it was in existence linen from India. It is interesting to put together the different science. For this reason, carbon dating was wrong, because it was without a multidisciplinary project. The Shroud, they studied by at least 30 different disciplines, different fields of research. So putting together the news from one and another science, we can arrive to the puzzle complete. Without this news, I remember that I met Dr. Barcaccia in Pasco. He was in Pasco. He announced this discovery, and speaking with him, he said that he was surprised for this. But I had read the paper of Ada Grossi. Ada Grossi is a paleographist who wrote in Valencia conference an important article about the Hebrew methods of entombment and the shroud, important methods. So in this paper, she explained this fact of the Yom Kippur afternoon. I said to Barcaccia, and Barcaccia was very interested in meet Ada Grossi. So we had a meeting after the Pasco conference. We had a meeting in Milan, me and Ada Grossi and Professor Barcaccia, to put together the single parts of the puzzle. This is fascinating in the shroud. And coming back for a moment to carbon dating, in that the result of the paper of archaeometry is that if in a small part of a few centimeters, 3 or 4 centimeters, like 3 stamps, the samples given to the laboratories were like 3 stamps, and from one part to the other there is a difference increasing of 150 years on a small part of cloth. The shroud is very, very long. For this reason, the sample is not representative of the whole cloth. And the cloth was touched, was reweaved, was put, it was in a fire. So is the sample, is the object less good for carbon dating? So I think there is not another object so wrong to be carbon dating. And this is the question: why not another carbon dating? Because in another part of the shroud, for sure, we will arrive to different dates. Nobody of them the original date is polluted. All the shroud is polluted.
You know that nowadays, with a new method that is a kind of an updated version of the AMS that was used in the 1988. Nowadays, they still have a significant problem sometimes with linen. And
really?
Yeah, really. Maybe sometimes with a problem with one time it gives you a false result with 1,000 years difference sometimes, and it is due to very great variety of factors, including conservation, but including also yes, the quality of the linen, etc.
And then just to clarify again, that's the far newer, updated version of Amos. Interesting. Wow.
Exactly. So
yes. If you see the Beta Analytic website, Beta Analytic is a carbon dating laboratory in Florida. If you look for Beta Analytic and textiles, they write clearly, we don't perform carbon dating of textiles if there is not the confirmation by an archaeologist that the sample is adapted for this dating, because a piece of cloth polluted or treated with something for conservation give a result wrong. They write for to finish. So we have to erase the idea that carbon dating is sure, is the carbon dating laboratories admit today, because we are speaking about a carbon dating of 1988. So maybe also the cloth of the people who dated the shroud must be carbon dating, because we are in the Middle Ages of carbon dating. So today,
well, even I was born in 1984, and 1988 seems further and further away.
So
it's
now,
just it was a long time ago.
But can you imagine when I was in the first here in the university, 69, 70, the shroud was submitted to an analysis by the physician, the doctors, who were not able to recognize it was blood. They admitted, we are not able to say it is blood or not. Only 8 years after, in 78, Alan Adler and John Heller in the United States and Baima Bollone in Italy proved it is blood. So the science is going fast. And in the time of carbon dating, in 1988, they were sure it was enthusiasm. The enthusiasm was for the new method in front of the old method of the gas invented by Libby, the man who invented the carbon dating, premium Nobel Prize for the chemistry. But the new method of the accelerator, the tandem accelerator, was promising, and in the enthusiasm, they said, for sure, we have the correct dating for the cloth. But the cloth, the textiles, as completely, they are completely exposed to pollution. They are not like a bone or a piece of wood in which I can put, I can take something inside. There is not inside in a cloth. So the pollution is complete, and the shroud, the history of the shroud is full of occasional pollution. So for this reason, today they are more carefully. The mistake in the time, one of the mistake was not consider the history of the shroud. The carbon dating laboratories, they said that they would like to perform the carbon dating only if nobody in the field of sindonologist was involved. So for sure, they would like to have nobody who know the shroud. So it is completely crazy. So the opposite of the logic. If I go to have a surgery, the doctor asks me everything about my history, of my health. They would like contact with my personal doctor. No, he said, no, I would like to know anything of you. I open you, I see. No, I don't go to a surgery like this. And for carbon dating, it was completely blind. It was blind, not a text. One of the lies of the period. We will perform a blind test with the shroud that will wave, and the other two samples, normal textile. Of course, it was not blind. It was blind the knowledge of the history of the shroud. And this is another of the big problems. So we have to mind this for the future.
But I am quite. Excuse me, go on, please.
Oh no, I was just going to say I regret to say we're nearing the end of our time here. I want to just ask you both, maybe, Tristan, I'll go to you here first. Maybe just where we're at right now in the conversation. Anything that you would like to add, or resources to recommend that people check out. Anything else that you'd like to just share?
I think you can go, of course, I mentioned it at the beginning of our conversation, to shroud.com if you want to, the Barry Schwartz website, if you want to start, going deeper and deeper into this multi-faceted topic. It is really fascinating to see all the articles that are really published, and that's the most the most interesting library that you can find. And I would say that one of the main challenge nowadays regarding the Shroud of Turin is how can we say that the Shroud of Turin is the burial cloth of Jesus? But we have two ways of proceeding. We have one way which is a kind of philosophical, making an historiographical, philosophical argument toward the authenticity, and the other way it's to go to make new analysis, and maybe new non-destructive analysis is go with maybe a further DNA test, for example, if we have access to a good, with a certified origin of the Shroud of Turin, and maybe non-destructive test. You know that recently some tests were made non-destructively,
yes, and
the results were coherent with a first century AD origin. So that's, the two ways of acceding to one reality, one central question, the authenticity of the Turin Shroud.
Yes. Well,
I think that the match with the Gospels, only reading the Gospel, we have the possibility to identify the man of the shroud. But one of the common objection is, okay, is a man crucified, but the Romans crucified 100 men, so maybe he's another man. And the boy, in my opinion, answered the best answer. He said, and for which reason somebody preserved the shroud of another crucified and not the cloth of Jesus? Yeah. The followers of Jesus had to preserve the cloth of Jesus, not the cloth of one of the thieves. And the thieves had no cloth. In reality, they went in a common grave without the cloth. So a crucified who was put in a special cloth, very rich cloth, is a strange if it's not Jesus. And the most strange thing is that the corpse didn't remain to putrefy in the shroud.
Exactly.
So I think we have enough to say his name.
This argument is new. It is null and void. You can do that. The main question is really, was it made in the medieval period, or is it the burial shroud of Jesus? You can't say, oh, it's maybe the Turin shroud, the shroud of someone else. It doesn't. It is really impossible to argue in this sense from a logical, from a historical perspective.
Well, I think we'll stop there for now, but I definitely would love to keep in touch with the both of you, and I'm so thankful I Well, and I can do at least this much. Tristan, merci beaucoup, and Emanuela, grazie mille. So
Merci à vous.
I can do that much. But thank you both so much. I really appreciate your time, and yeah, God bless you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All I really want to add is that you definitely want to check out the links below. If you want to go deeper into any of this, especially check out the link for Light from the Sepulchre, Emanuela's book, this particular edition from 2017. I got the Kindle version of it myself. I'm going through right now and really enjoying it deeply. So very, very in-depth, adding it to the list of all sorts of really intriguing Shroud of Turin material here on the Gracious Guest Show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here if you haven't done that. Share this far and wide. And until next time, don't forget to wonder. Take care.